back. If you're just joining us, this year we are committing ourselves to studying the Word deeply. And I'm hoping this will be a resource for folks that have never really done deep, intensive study, any kind of expositional, cultural, language study, literary study. There are a lot of different ways you can come about reading the Scripture and starting to study these things, which we're going to start to see today. Last time we started here in the beginning, as one should, with these chaotic waters of darkness, and basically we see the world as a giant ball of crazy angry water, as many would say. And that's a perspective. But that is actually not an idea that is only found in Scripture. It's actually one found in many different creation myths, flood myths, and often all bundled together by many different cultures. So it's very interesting that we see that amongst all the cultures in the area and even across the world. That kind of confirms, there is something crazy going on in the beginning. Many of these cultures would speak about the different myths of their gods coming and creating order and putting the star in the skies and establishing their chariot to fly around with the sun on its back and do all that crazy stuff. Understand that for the Israelite communities, this is the same thing for them. And to them, they believe that this is what their God had done, exactly as it's written. They're not injecting some other kind of ideology or science or anything else onto this. So we need to start thinking like that as well. How the original cultures of the day and who these particular audiences were. And God said, "Let there be light." And there was light. And God saw the light was good, and he separated the light from the darkness. God called the light day, and the darkness he called night. And there was evening, and there was morning, the first day. If I'm the first people hearing this and seeing who God is, first off, this is Israel in the desert, coming out of Egypt, who have for the longest time been slaves, and a part of an Egyptian polytheism that was extremely tied to the culture and to the daily life of everyone, slaves or free. It would be no shock if many of the hearers of these particular words had at one point worshipped in Egypt's temples, or were craftsmen or workers that worked around the individuals that attended these. They would have had a very different interpretation of God's relationship with man, who they were to him, and what they were worth. This is how the story starts, contextually, and how God is telling them their story for the first time. Let there be light. This is separate from the light they know, the light giver they know. Pharaoh is Amun-Ra incarnate to them. So immediately we're seeing some very different ideas to what the original readers would have thought. Instead of Amun-Ra bringing both light and darkness, bringing chaos and disorder, war and conquest, we see God bringing light and setting it up and calling it good. So we see the good order already beginning here. And I think you're going to find there's a lot more fun stuff going on in these additional days that are going to tie to this, but not just here. This is going to tie to the whole rest of Scripture as well. So continue reading with me. I think we're going to have fun.